This show is brought to you by HostBaby.com, web hosting for musicians.
It's time to look into the crystal ball. That's right. That's what we're doing here on episode 43 of Music Marketing Monday. Come gather around the table. We got the incense burning. We're going to look into the future and predict the trends, the things that are going to be happening in music and otherwise in 2015. I'm not sure why I'm doing an evil voice, but let's get the show going. Huh?
Information, inspiration, motivation for the modern musicpreneur.
Time to start your week right.
Here it comes, Music Marketing Monday, with your host, Bob Baker,
Mr. Buzz Factor,
and Billy Gryzak.
The Music Marketing Mind.
Ready? Are you sure?
Set.
Here it comes. Swing, baby.
All right, people of 2015, do you have your double tie on? Haha, you wearing your funny-looking, pointy, elfish metal hat? Are you eating your dehydrated pizzas, wearing your computer glasses, and flying in your flying car in your hoverboard? What? Not? Well, that's probably because you're listening to Music Marketing Monday with me, Billy Gryzak, the Music Marketing Mind, and...
I'm Bob Baker, Mr. Buzz Factor. Yes, I watched the Jetsons too.
No, that wasn't the Jetsons, man.
Back to the Future,
that
right?
was all stuff from Back to the Future 2, where they go to the far, far future called 2015. Yeah, they wore double ties. And remember, the kids, man, they wore their clothes inside out. So Marty had to pull his pockets out to look his pants were inside out, and yeah.
I either missed that movie or it's been so darn long, I don't recall that. Is it Back to the Future 2, you said?
Yeah, Back to the Future 2 is when they spent a lot of time in 2015. Wow.
I am going to have to go back and watch that because there's a lot of buzz around the internet about what they got right, what they got wrong. I'm not sure did you know what they got right?
No, I just kind of focused on the things that they didn't get, you know?
Yeah.
So the one thing that really cracks me up was they predicted that fax machines don't exist anymore. And while they mostly don't, there are still certain times, in fact, when dealing with PayPal of all places, you still need a freaking fax machine. Can you believe that?
Wow. Yeah, that is true. I've had to fax them something. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Crazy.
So even though, when you think about it, we have come a long way. The technology that we have compared to just 10 years ago and how, forget the generations, but just in our own lives, you and I, Billy, with the way we communicate and everything has just changed drastically. But there's a lot of stuff that's the same. We're not in hovercrafts yet, and all that good stuff. But beyond that, beyond Back to the Future, we were just going to take a little, use this episode to sort of look ahead, see what kind of the buzz has been around the digital internets on some things and trends and things that we should maybe be aware of or keep our eye out on for the coming year. That's what all that weird crystal ball thing. I'm not sure why I was doing the evil voice. Are psychics known to do that? I don't know.
True. And maybe before we move forward into the future, let's just take a quick look back at a few things. Like, did you know just 10 years ago, here's some things that we use every day that did not exist. You ready for this?
Okay, I'm ready.
Social media.
Yes. So 10 years ago was 2004. So I know that's the year I started blogging. I had my own website that was active online, but there was no YouTube. There was no Facebook that I'm aware of.
Yep.
There were websites.
Yep.
But you're right. Social media, the whole,
right.
I don't know where texting was at that point, but I can't remember.
The Apple Store did not exist 10 years ago.
Wow.
You mentioned YouTube did not exist 10 years ago. The modern tablet computer, whether you're talking about the iPad or the some of the Android tabs, like the Galaxy tab, things like that. The Amazon Kindle did not exist 10 years ago. Google Maps. And ready for this one? This will blow your mind because we're doing it right now. Podcasting did not exist 10 years ago. Can you believe that?
That yeah, kind of. It was probably in its earliest stages. Yeah, when it was, well, I guess Napster had. Well, I think it was around 10 years ago. Is that when the first iPod or iTunes Store was launched? Around 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was around, but a decade ago. A decade ago, none of this stuff was actually there and available to the masses. The Blu-ray player, the Blu-ray format did not exist 10 years ago. Flat screen TVs, and are you ready for this? Here's something that did exist 10 years ago, but it does not exist now. You ready for this?
Okay, what is it?
The planet Pluto.
Oh, that's right. It's been demoted. That's right.
But so before we go forward, I figured it'd be nice to take a little look back. You know what I mean? And maybe look ahead to the coming year, or maybe even the next decade if we're so inclined.
Yeah, I have to really have. I hope my crystal ball is up for that distant viewing. Absolutely.
Well,
so cool.
Are we going to deal with things that the other gurus and predictors and seers are projecting, or are we going to throw some of our own out, Bob? Because obviously, folks, we try not to plan anything here in this show, and it comes across so well every week.
Yes, so I think it's readily obvious.
So are we going to dig into some of our own thoughts at the beginning, or are we going to talk about what some of the experts have to say, and then kind of throw in our 2 cents? Yeah. What do you want to do, Bob?
Just to jog my to get my wheels turning, I did research what other people were talking about, but all I did was make 1 or 2 word notes, and then I got my own spin on each of those, which I'm sure will lead to some of our own unanticipated comments. So yeah, let's just jump in wherever you want to. In fact, I know we both discovered a couple of pieces that were on Forbes on the online site, and I guess we can kind of start there. There was a guy, a writer named I think he's a staff writer for Forbes named Zach O'Malley Greenberg or something, and he was kind of doing some of the more major industry stuff. As an artist, I guess I don't know if I'm out of touch with some of but there's an artist he said that's really going to have a breakout year called Ed Sheeran. I think he's a UK-based singer-songwriter or something that's really heavy in the touring thing or something, and I wasn't even aware of him, but he apparently is creating a buzz like gangbusters. Had you ever heard of him?
Well, yeah, that's the guy that sold out 4 nights at Wembley Stadium.
Oh wow!
Sold out 4 nights at Wembley Stadium. I mean, I've never heard of him, but I know that's the guy.
Wow, I guess there's an example of how, because I think that's another difference from decades ago. If somebody had that kind of clout, it's like everybody knew who they were. I was like, we were all, that's one thing that sort of is missing from this generation is that sort of unity where everybody, watched the same shows or whatever. We had the same cultural reference points. So it's a lot more fragmented now. And that, a lot of that has to do with probably just simply population and everybody having access to so much different media. There's no way that everybody can be focused on the same thing. But here's a guy that can sell out 4 nights like that, and there's a whole, huge sections of the population that don't even know who he is.
Well, I think what's happened. Now, check this out. This is one of my observations, and perhaps I should blog about it or something somewhere. But what I've noticed is that because I deal with a lot of different intergenerational markets, because I've been doing the kids' music market for a long time, right? Now, right. A lot of those kids are moved from my original group have moved into being teenagers, including my son, the drummer, for bigandtallband.com. And so I hang out with a lot of teenagers as well. Then, of course, being the age I am, I work with and have dealings with people that are, adults and middle-aged. And then even I do some things with seniors as well. So I'm kind of running the gamut of what everybody's doing. And one thing that I find really interesting is even though everybody has access to everything, it seems like different demographic groups are kind of flocking together to create certain patterns. For instance, and I know there's some documentation on the web to support this, but for instance, my son, who's 18, does not watch television, like broadcast television. He doesn't even own broadcast television capabilities in his house. However, he's he's on YouTube all the time. Basically, there's an entire generation right now that network television, what was network television or what once was the radio back in the 40s is now YouTube for these people. And he's constantly turning me on to things I've never heard of, comedians, musicians, even movies and stuff that come through that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and my daughter gets most of her TV from Netflix, so that could be a new show, but it also, I mean, she's discovering shows that are sometimes 10 years old, and Doctor Who and all this stuff, and binge watching things that were out several years ago, even though she's just discovering them now. But yeah, which is totally different than the old, let's gather around at must see TV night. Remember that on NBC?
I do.
Seinfeld and all that.
I do. So right there, YouTube is a great place. Of course, our show is about music marketing, so you can kind of say, well, if you're looking to reach that particular demographic, well, maybe you should be doing things on YouTube and finding out what it is they're watching and how to get your music into that. Now, an interesting sidebar is there's another generation that's a little bit younger than my son and both a little bit older, like I'd say probably through the early teens, maybe even middle school age through, 30-year-olds, is the gaming thing. And not just like gaming the way it used to be. Gaming has changed a lot now. There's like internet gaming, there's, PC gaming, there's console gaming. And one of the big things, one of the greatest places to discover music now is in games. For instance, a few years ago, there was a game that my son had. I think it might have been Fallout 3 or Fallout 2. I can't remember, but there was a song called No Rest for the Wicked. I think it's by a band called Cage the Elephant. And he says, you got to hear the song in this game. It's awesome. And we were like, man, this is a great song. And we really liked it. And then like within 6 months later, it was like a top 10 hit on the radio. But it started by being in a video game. And just today, of all people, Sir Paul McCartney closed today's episode of Beatle Brunch, which is a show I listen to on the internet, with a song that he has just put in a video game called Dynasty. And Destiny. And Paul's not playing video games, but he knows where the kids are and he knows how to reach them. And, guys, it's not about putting things out there where you're comfortable. It's about reaching your target audience. Yay.
Yeah, well, hopefully you are a member of your target audience and you're also consuming the same stuff, and maybe you just haven't overlooked the fact that it's a possible source of getting your music out there. But yeah, it's funny. My daughter is a huge fan of Cage the Elephant, and then I saw Paul McCartney on The Daily Show promoting that video game with his music in it. So that's kind of crazy. There's a lot of references in these various prognostication articles that I uncovered that are referencing streaming and how it relates to downloads and all this stuff. I know in that Forbes article, the guy was saying that the RIAA, who gives out the platinum and the gold albums and all this stuff, that they said that he thinks that before long they're going to include streaming in the as far as the numbers that they use to determine platinum sales, because apparently streaming is already considered in like the top singles. Billboard uses it, I think, in their charts too. They combine it with radio airplay and sales and all that other stuff. And so streaming is going to be, being more and more a force that is to be reckoned with.
Well, I got to chime in there. I totally agree, because it's funny. It's almost like downloading is almost becoming a transitional technology, kind of sort of like cassettes were. It was like we had albums, and then cassettes kind of filled the void for a while before CDs came in, so you could take your music with you and put it in Walkman and stuff like that, right? Until the MP3s came out. So you could say there was some transitional technology. What I've noticed is, for me in my business, CD sales, 2015. I'm jumping in with one of my predictions, by the way. I believe 2015 is the year that the CD dies. For most people. I mean, my physical CDs, mine personally, are down like 70%. It's just crazy. And what's sad is downloading isn't nearly as big as it was either, because it seems like mostly everybody wants to stream. They want that content on demand. They don't have to, they don't even have to wait 30 seconds or 60 seconds for it to download. They just want to press a button and hear it. So, if that indeed does become the case, if the download becomes passe and the CD goes away, how are people going to actually make money with their music? Because you really don't make a lot of money on streams unless you're doing a ton. You know what I mean? So
right,
that's a scary and a wonderful prediction. It just depends on how you look at it.
I guess the parallel to TV and movies is that people for a long time were buying movies on DVD. So they took ownership of it. They physically owned it, as opposed to but on the digital version, like Amazon, I know has options to basically rent the movie for 2 or 3 days to watch it at a lower price, or you can actually own by downloading and permanently having access to these movies and TV shows. So they even have a rent versus own. But the digital downloads, as we've known them since iTunes, came out, was basically an ownership. You